A heavily fortified training camp in the Jordanian desert near the border with Iraq. As night falls, the guards are waiting for the latest batch of recruits to be bussed in. These men have signed up for one of the most dangerous jobs in the world. For the next 8 weeks, they'll be trained to become Iraqi policemen. Even here, just over the border in Jordan, they're still targets for assassination, and their convoy of buses is escorted by heavily armed Jordanian troops. The cadets receive temporary ID cards, and they sign a legal waiver that acknowledges they understand the risks of what they're doing.
بالنسبة للشغلات الممنوعة، أي أدوات حادة ممنوعة، أي نوع من أنواع المخدرات والحشائش ممنوعة، الكاميرات التصوير والتلفونات الخلوية فيها كاميرات ممنوعة نهائيا.
After they've been fingerprinted, the recruits are body searched and their bags are pulled apart. They're then led into the barracks for their first night in the camp, and they receive an emotional welcome from the cadets already here.
رمادي شباب خليك معي هون، بدي احكي كلمتين، خليك بالسرعة الزم السرعة، لما نسلمك عهدة نسلمك منامة وتفت. شلون نطلع؟ الفوضى هاي اللي برا زملائك القديمين، لا تروح ولا تطلع من الطابور، خليك انت بالطابور. هلا شباب.
I can't think of many police in the world that have to face RPGs on a daily basis or incoming mortar rounds on a daily basis. So they're heroes in my mind. I mean, there's no question. I mean, I respect each and every one of them. There isn't many countries that I can think of where a police officer would be willing, as willing, to go into an environment that they're going into.
These are the poor who are desperate for work, are willing even to stand in long recruitment lines at the threat of being bombed, as has happened on numerous occasions, simply because not to do so would mean having no bread on the table for their families. And so they're quite desperate.
This remote desert camp is one of the largest police training colleges in the world. At any one time, there are 3,000 Iraqi cadets living and training here, and by the end of this year, around 44,000 will have passed through the gates. The camp was built with US money 3 years ago as part of the Iraqi reconstruction effort. Now, police officers from 18 different countries are here to provide the training.
If you ask me if I put this up against a Western-style academy, no, it couldn't hold a cotton to it. But we're proud of what we turn out. We've seen the survival rate grow up. We've built pride into these cadets. We realize that what we're generating here is not top cops in the sense that we realize we're in a transition phase. What we are trying to do now is build into the Iraqi police force the seeds of a first-rate police force that will evolve over the next few years.
Many of the cadets turn up here with only a plastic shopping bag. Some have turned up with just the clothes they're wearing. After their first night, they receive uniforms and military haircuts. Then it's out onto the firing range. They're doing okay?
For the first time they've ever shot a handgun? Yes.
مو زين بعد الظهر ان شاء الله تكون احسن لازم تكون احسن بس انت ما تقنص فرغوا شعيرات لازم تركز على التهديف
38 المرة الجاية دير بالك شوي على الزر بس انت شوي قبضة صحيحة.
We'll say out of a class of 125, we may have some with a background in military police prior to coming here in Iraq, and they're pretty decent, but you get maybe 1 out of 5, and the rest of them are pretty scared of the handgun, and a lot of them it's the first time they've ever shot, believe it or not, even coming from Iraq. So we got to get them over the fear first.
فهون أول مرة بتستخدم سلاح؟
اي نعم.
وكيف الشعور؟ كيف حاسس حالك؟
والله شعور بالبداية كنت خايف يعني من السلاح، بعدين من مارست على الرماية أول تجريبي جبت نتيجة زينة، وبعدين هسه بالرمي هم جبت قناص، طلعت قناص. قناص بالفلوجة.
أنت وين موجود بالعراق؟
بالفلوجة.
منطقة
الفلوجة هي بالأنبار.
No, this one's from Baghdad, this one's from فلوجة.
أنا هم رامي على السلاح.
حاسس حالك إنه يعني ممكن تكون جاهز بعد شهرين؟
نعم.
تواجه المشاكل؟
نعم.
إن شاء الله.
But the cadets' optimism flies in the face of some truly appalling statistics regarding their survival rate. Many of these men will be killed on the job.
Well, from the quotes that everybody talks about, one class every 6 months is eliminated by
an entire class.
They get 1,500.
The training program has been running for 3 years, but in recent months it's been refocused on simply keeping the graduates alive.
When we began this, of course, we fully expected to lose 10% during the first few classes. Never did get quite that high, but as you well know, there were a number being killed when they got back in almost group bombings. We found that the death rate has dropped significantly. We each month getting more and more behind the curve. We've got a great survival right now. We actually, several months ago, went to more practical application training with the theory that if we could teach them enough survival techniques for the first 90 days, they would get over the learning curve and be able to protect themselves more. That's exactly what has happened.
Is that first 90 days, is that the most dangerous time for these guys?
It's most critical, just like for a young military recruit. First few battles he's engaged in, he becomes seasoned very quick, and the same thing happens with police.
The cadets are given phone cards that allow them to ring their families every few days. For some, this is the first time they've left home, let alone Iraq, and it's hard to believe that they haven't lied about their age. Several cadets asked not to be filmed because, as far as their parents were concerned, they were looking for work in southern Iraq and not training for the most dangerous job in the country.
أول مرة بتطلع من العراق؟
هي أول مرة.
وكيف التجربة؟
والله كويسة.
انبسطت هون؟
انبسطت. انبسطنا حيل.
قديش صار لك هون؟
2 شهر وأسبوع.
وإمتى رايح على راجع؟
إن شاء الله بكرة.
وكيف كان لأول مرة بعيد عن أهلك؟
هي أول مرة. تفرج عليها تقول جزء ما هي شو
This group of cadets is learning a basic survival skill in Iraq. How to search a car without blowing yourself up.
If you see any wires or lever on the door, you just press the door back.
إذا أنت بتشوف أي وايرات أي أسلاك على الباب على طول سكر الباب على طول.
Don't let the driver open the door if you see a wire.
لا تخلي السائق يفتح يكمل فتح السيارة إذا أنت بتشوف هاي الوايرات هاي الأسلاك.
If he will open the door, you're dead.
إذا أنت فتحت الباب أنت ميت.
It's that simple.
An inquiry last year by the US government, which provides the bulk of the funding here, found serious flaws in the police training program. According to the report from the Departments of State and Defense,
there is little consensus on how to train Iraqi police. One exception is the universal agreement that the 8 weeks devoted to the basic course is insufficient time to produce a capable policeman.
The report also found that
too many recruits are marginally literate. Some show up for training with criminal records or physical handicaps, and some recruits allegedly are infiltrating insurgents.
Does that worry you at all?
I think that the vetting process is a strong process. Do we have some people that possibly sympathize with some of the insurgents? Absolutely, I'm sure that occurs. And it's our goal to show them a better way.
This message was apparently yet to be received by these 3 new cadets who had just arrived from Ramadi. The US occupation force is spending hundreds of millions to train them as police. But as far as they're concerned, the insurgents are fighting a legitimate battle.
أختي إحنا أساساً يعني أي بلد بالعالم لما يكون يجي أي دولة تحتله فمن حقه بأنه يدافع عن أرضه وعرضه. هذا الحكي يعني متعارف به كإنسانية يعني كإنسان الله خلق عز وجل. فهذا حق الدفاع عن نفسه. واحنا كنا نفس الشعور والمقاومه مشروعه بكل العالم يعني فهم اساسا جايين جو للعراق بانه املونا بانه يعني فالديمقراطيه وحريه وكذا والى اخره وتاسس في الدوله يعني وكذا وبعدين اللي على لسانها تقول احنا احتلال يعني اول مره تحرير وبعدين صارت احتلال فهذه يعني مناقضة يعني هم أساسا جايين ممكن على مصالحهم يعني ما أعرف يعني.
The motives of the cadets training here are also complicated. While some of the Sunni recruits may use this training to aid the insurgency, some Shia recruits end up as part of the sectarian death squads. The Iraqi Interior Ministry, which controls the police force, is widely perceived to be stacked with Shia Muslim officials. It's been accused of operating the death squads that target Sunni Iraqis.
Yeah, it seems that a dirty war has been taking place, whereby after nightfall, during curfew hours, police units, or at least units that are dressed up as police and are driving police cars, with all the markings and whatnot, are going around raiding Sunni Arab neighborhoods, rounding people up, men, fighting age, and detaining them, and a number of those end up as corpses, in ditches. And so we have a serious problem here with what look like real death squads.
But at least according to the director of the police training centre, it's not yet been caught up in sectarian politics.
And they're here because they're not, it's not that they're Shia, it's not that they're Sunni or they're Kurds, they're here because they're Iraqis. And really focused on the fact that they're the ones that are going to make the difference if they really truly want to have a safe and stable democratic Iraq. And they are Iraqis, and the Iraqis first. And that's the trick.
After 8 weeks, the cadets have completed their training, and it's time to return to Iraq.
To all of you, the newest graduates of the Jordan International Police Training Center, I congratulate you on a job well done.
After the graduation ceremony, reality sinks in. The cadets realise that this could be the last time that they see each other.
يلا يا عيني يلا يلا يا رجل يلا يلا يا شلحقوا يا رجل يومين ما انت ورا يا رجل يلا يابا يلا يلا شباب شباب يلا
ليش الناس زعلانه كثير انه تاركين بعض؟
يتفارقون يعني فراق صعب.
لأن احنا أصدقاء صار لنا هنا تقريبا أكثر من شهرين، وهذا الفراق بيناتنا يعني فراق صعب، واحنا كنا ولد بلد واحد.
تشوفوا بعض بالعراق؟
إن شاء الله من المخابرات أو إذا استقرت الأوضاع اعتياد الدول بعضنا مع بعض من محافظة لمحافظة أخرى، لكن بهالأوضاع هاي ووجود الإرهابيين ما نقدر الصراحة.
لا مهمتكم كبيرة، حسيتوا حالكم انه اخذتوا تدريب كفايه؟
نعم. اي نعم اخذنا تدريب ما به الكفايه، ونشكر كافه الكادر الموجودين على التدريب هنا.
طيب هلا في مخاوف لما ترجعوا على كبر المهمه؟
طبعا اكو مخاوف، لان خطورتنا احنا بالعراق كشرطه 100%، مو مثل الشرطه الموجوده بالدول الباقيه.
يعني شغلتنا صعبه احنا.
ايش ممكن تحكي شوي عن افكارك شو ممكن يصير هلا؟
يصير يعني شو يصير يعني اذا ما حكومه ما موجوده عندنا، بلدنا تايه، طبعا تظل التفجير ويظل القتل ويظل السلب لحين ما ينتهي العراق باكمل، لكن بجهودنا احنا كشباب نقدر نعيد وطننا ونقدر نخليه يقف على رجليه كما كان قبل. ان شاء
الله. انت لوين رايح؟
As they leave, the cadets' bags and bodies are searched one final time, and they're handed a graduation certificate.
Baghdad. Goodbye.
Just 1 week after I filmed these cadets, a suicide bomber struck outside the police station at Fallujah. This is where many of the newly graduated police were headed. At least 30 policemen were wounded and 15 were killed in the attack. According to local police, it was aimed at discouraging Sunni Iraqis from joining the force.
طبعا هذه الشغله ندري بتضحيه ندري بقتل، بس لازم نضحي حتى شنو يرفع هذا.
لابد بانه نضحي حتى ممكن بانه عائلتي تعيش، عائله ابو محمد تعيش، عائله حميد تعيش. يعني ابنائنا القادمين مستقبلهم يكون احسن من حياتنا اللي هاي بدنا نعيشها بآلام ومأساة كل ساعه وكل دقيقه وكل ثانيه.